Welcome to Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Sanctuary of Our Lady of Foy, Foy-Notre-Dame, Dinant, Belgium. Introduction. The Church of Our Lady of Foy, located in the center of the village of Foy-Notre-Dame, 6 kilometers east of the town of Dinant in Belgium, is a Marian sanctuary dating from the 17th century. Built in 1623, the church is in the Mousson Baroque style. It has a remarkable ceiling of 145 coffers with paintings on oak wood of the Marian mysteries, saints and doctors of the church. The church, recognized by the Royal Commission for Monuments and Sites since 1898, is listed as classified real estate heritage of the Walloon region. The building, made from local materials, Meuse limestone, Rance marble, brick, oak, is a perfect example of the know-how of the Belgian craftsmen of the time. Sanctuary of Our Lady of Foy, Sanctuaire Notre-Dame de Foy, located in a beautiful unspoilt environment on the heights close to Dinant, encircled by a few stone houses. This church owes its founding to the discovery of a statuette of the Virgin Mary in a hollow tree by a woodcutter in 1609. The statue was worshipped. As a result of miracles, the place became a pilgrimage site, and this church was built in 1623. At this time, the development of the cult of the Virgin was part of the Counter-Reformation on the initiative of the Jesuits, who encouraged the cult of saints by images in reaction to the austere religion of the Protestants, who communed with God without intermediaries. The most noteworthy feature of the building is its famous ceiling made of 145 panels of oil paintings depicting scenes from the life of Mary and portraits of saints. This ceiling is the work of the brothers Stilmont of Dinant and the painter Guillaume Goblet. It was restored in 1935 but now needs another refurbishment. Inside, apart from the celebrated ceiling, is the miraculous statuette on the left of the altar and various paintings including ones of the Virgin and Saint Joseph. The immediate surroundings of the church are charming, with a little graveyard next to it, a small wall encircling the church, a bench for visitors, an inn, a chestnut tree, a fine view. History. When Abbots Felix Fries, parish priest of Foy-Notre-Dame from 1892 to 1906, and Charles Petition took an interest in it, the church was in a pitiful state and threatened with ruin. Fry's historical research helps draw the attention of civil authorities to the great historical and artistic value of the church. It was listed in 1898, and its restoration began immediately. The work of the first major renovation spanned from 1898 to 1910 and was directed by the architect Auguste van Ossa. Although the Commission is absolutely keen to preserve the authenticity of the building, it will make profound changes both inside and outside. It endows the facade with a Louis XIII-style portal. It extends downwards the 2 windows of the main facade as well as the first 2 bays on both sides of the building. Some stone parts are renovated. It endows the roof with 5 skylights. It was also at this time that the oak coffers of the ceiling were renewed and replaced by natural colored oak coffers, which contrasted sharply with the splendor of the paintings. On the old caisson replaced at this time, 1908 to 1909, the Commission keeps precise information on their appearance and their main characteristics, which will be used during subsequent work, 1937. On these, there are traces of old carved patterns, nails which were to fix them, vermilion around the painting and a gilt frame at the base. The second major project is undertaken to repair the war damage, bullet impacts on the walls and at the level of the roof, and damage due to a shell on the southeast facade. The pilgrimages resume, with the support of the Bishop of Namur. As a new beginning, Bishop Halen organized the coronation of Our Lady of Foy there on September 8, 1909. 10,000 pilgrims are present. On the occasion of the 25 years of reign of King Albert I, a great celebration took place in 1934 in his presence. 30,000 people, including Cardinal Van Ruy, attend parades and religious ceremonies. 22 statuettes from parishes around the world also dedicated to Notre Dame de Foy are exhibited there. Architecture. In 1618, the influx of pilgrims, and the publicity given to the place by the visit of the Archdukes Albert and Isabella in 1619, leads to the construction of a larger chapel. Work began in 1622. The plans were drawn up by the brothers, Michel and Jasper Stilmont, with the help of Guillaume Goblet too. However, in the 19th century, historians attribute this work to be Flammali and an unknown Bartolome III. The church is consecrated on September 8, 1644 by the Most Reverend Suffragan of Liège who, on this day of commemoration of the birth of the Virgin, replaces the Prince Bishop of Liège, Ferdinand of Bavaria. At that time, only the shell was completed. The coffered ceiling, meanwhile, was completed 10 years later thanks to donations from pilgrims. The church receives, among other donations, an altarpiece offered by the archdukes. The Prince Bishop of Liège appoints an administrator for what has become a Marian sanctuary. It is the Premonstratensian Canon Jean Noizet, of the Abbey of Notre-Dame de Foy. Premises were built to receive pilgrims and Foy was erected as a parish, along with the neighboring village of Boissé. A small town is growing, but will never be bigger than it is today. Throughout the 17th century, the sanctuary had an extraordinary reputation. Pilgrims come from everywhere. The veneration of Notre Dame de Foy spread outside the country, propagated in particular by the missionaries who went overseas. A treasure accumulates in Foy, made of liturgical objects in precious metal offered by pilgrims. This does not fail to arouse envy. The wars of the century did not spare the sanctuary. On several occasions, the church was vandalized and the statuette had to be hidden in Dinant. In 1696, the church was sacked by the Dutch Confederates. Religious articles are stolen or sold. The sanctuary does not rise easily. In the 18th century, mentalities having also changed, pilgrimages were less numerous. The decline initiated by the sacking of 1696 was accentuated throughout the 18th century. Discovery of the statue of the Virgin. In 1609, Gilles, a woodcutter from Wanlin, and Innocent de Limoire who accompanied him, while cutting down an enormous oak tree which they had just cut down, discovered a small statue of the Virgin Mary there. Made of terracotta, it is surrounded by some stones and hair. Gilles and Innocent cry out for a miracle. The story spreads around, and very quickly a spontaneous cult develops. In fact, the oak was at the edge of a path taken by the pilgrims going to Saint-Hubert. Some 2 centuries before the discovery of 1609, one of them deposited in the hollow of the tree a statuette of the Virgin Mary. Over the years the bark of the tree closed over her and, the path being less and less frequented, the existence of the statuette was forgotten. The statue was first replaced in another oak tree, but the Baron de Celles, having found that an attempt had been made to steal it, carried it to his oratory in the Château de Vives, Barony of Celles. Visitors and pilgrims begin to flock. A first miracle took place in 1616 following the intercession of the Virgin Mary. An old man was cured of a hernia as painful as it was debilitating. The canonical inquiry prescribed by the Bishop of Liège, Ferdinand of Bavaria, is positive in its conclusions. Description of the primitive state. The plan of the building is of the chapel type. The volume is unique from the arcades. The spaces between these are condemned by walls which thus form a sort of narthex between the portal and the nave. The primitive aspect of this narthex is hypothetical. It is either open or closed in relation to the central body of the chapel. The latter is composed of a nave and a 5-sided choir. The building is oriented along the northwest to southeast axis. The dimensions of the chapel are singular, almost 40 meters long and 11.5 meters wide. The access points inside the chapel of the time are probably 2 in number, a portal on the side of the northwest facade and a door on the side of the northeast facade. An interior staircase is present in the northwest corner near the portal. Exterior. The exterior elevation is made up of 2 distinct elements, the main facade and the other facades which, apart from small exceptions, have very similar characteristics. The junction between each facade is made of stone. It is a Bisacci angle chain whose stones have variable dimensions and whose organization is not homogeneous. A projecting basement, with 2 levels in stone, reigns all around the building except in 2 places where it is interrupted by the 2 accesses to the interior of the chapel. The upper part of this basement, the entablature level, is essentially made of brick. 2 bedding strips restore height for the entire building. A first which was probably to restore the height above the portal to almost a quarter of the level of the entablature and the height before the construction of the bays. The second was to restore the height before the basket handle arch of all the windows of the building and is located at 3/4 of the level of the entablature. The pierced berries in this one have certain characteristics in common. These are windows with basket handle arches on chained uprights. The facade has 3 levels of elevation, the fitted base, the level of the brick entablature which is punctuated by 2 bands of foundation stones, mentioned above. Finally, the latter is delimited from the previous part by another band of foundation stone, the gable with 2 sides. This side of the building is pierced by a portal of which we do not know the primitive aspect, probably a realization similar to the work of the bays, 2 bays shorter than today, an oculus in the gable surrounded by 2 small square-shaped bays. The uncovered gable has in its upper part 7 anchors of various sizes and shapes, straight or volute, and, at its base, 4 anchors dating the building, 1623. The 2 side walls, nearly 14 meters high, both have the same characteristics, except for the door, northwest side, mentioned above. They have 2 levels, the basement and the brick entablature punctuated by 2 bands of bedding stone. The first 2 windows from the main facade are lower in height than the other 4. The shorter windows were probably to be the same height as those on the main facade, i.e. 4 meters in height. The other bays are about 8 meters high. Less than 1 meter from each first window of these side facades and also less than 1 meter in height, 1, above each strip of seating. The 5 sides of the choir are similar. Each of them is more or less 3 meters wide. A window similar to the higher windows of the side facades, is centered in each pan. The covering of the chapel, roof, as well as of the campanile are ensured by a saddleback roof composed of straight slates. This one has an upturned sewer supported by a stone cornice in cavite on corbel in heel. Interior. The interior elevation has a different number of levels for each part of the building. However, one level is common to the whole building, the attic. These are delimited by the upper part of the coffered ceiling, which is in fact a suspended ceiling between the trusses making up the roof structure which supports the roof. After the narthex part, the aspect of which is unknown, come the nave and the choir. Both are covered by a coffered ceiling whose beams are sculpted. The floor of the entire chapel is covered with a marble pavement, probably in Rance marble. At the time, it is very likely that it was only made of this type of marble. The black marble appears to be an addition made in later work. The nave has a single level of elevation for the southeast and northwest side walls, a large wall pierced at regular intervals by the windows. The walls are probably covered with a coating. No information is available on the color of the walls. The side walls are covered, from the ground up to 2.50 meters in height with oak paneling interrupted only to the northwest by the access presented previously and by elements of the furniture. The choir has a single level of elevation, a wall made up of 5 sections, each of which is pierced by a window. This part of the chapel is higher than the nave and is separated from the latter by a step. The walls were very probably covered with a plaster, itself even covered with paints. The known ornament of the chapel for this period is the band that goes around the nave and the choir, which probably served as a frieze, the commemorative plaques, which are added to the walls during particular events, such as an important visit or the death of a character strongly linked to the history of the chapel, such as the hermit, the elements of the furniture, such as statues placed on pedestals attached to the wall, as well as the paintings and the work of the framing of these composing the coffered ceiling. Feast Day, 27th July, Annual Feast Day of Our Lady of Foy, Our Lady of Faith, held on 27th July. Church visiting time, every days, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Contact info. Address, Sanctuary of Our Lady of Foy, Rue des Claviettes 4, 5504 Foy-Notre-Dame, Dinant, Belgium. Website www.sanctuairefoy-notre-dame.be. How to reach the sanctuary. The nearest airport to the sanctuary is Charleroi, CRL, Airport, and other nearby airports include Brussels, BRU, Luxembourg, LUX, Eindhoven, EIN, and Cologne-Bonn, CGN. Dinant railway station in the Belgian city of Dinant is the nearby train station to the sanctuary. If you wish to know more about Catholic shrine basilicas, Marian shrines and Marian apparitions, subscribe to our Catholic Shrine Basilica YouTube channel. Like and share with your loved ones. For more churches, website www.catholicshrinebasilica.com.